What's up, folks? This is once again Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm here in the X Layer to once again help you get through yet another day with the X-Men statue withdrawal syndrome. It's been a difficult week for you since my last video, and I am sorry that I wasn't able to provide you with more treatments, but treatments can be expensive, and so I have to space them out, of course. We don't want to break the bank. We don't want the pharmaceutical company to go bankrupt and leave you to rot in a state of permanent despair that will lead you to destroy your entire statue collection and forsake the name Bowen forever. That would suck. I don't want that to happen. So here I am to help you with this amazing statue of Sunfire by Bowen Designs. It's a statue that I actually just got, even though it was released a couple of years ago. It was one of those statues that I decided at the time that I just didn't have the funds to buy. These things can be somewhat expensive, and so every now and then you have to make decisions about what you're going to buy versus what you're not going to buy. Fortunately, lately, Bowen Designs has slightly slowed down in terms of releasing newer statues. And I think there's been a recent break in that situation, in that Randy Bowen posted some preview shots of new upcoming statues, which implies that the contract negotiations with Marvel, which is what seemed to have been sort of stalled for an extended period of time, and what has led to sort of a dearth of new statue pre-orders being put up on Bowen's website. I think all that is finally being resolved, and we're going to be getting some new statues pretty soon. But there's been a benefit to this whole situation, and that is that there's a break in like the ongoing statue releases, which require a significant financial investment on a consistent basis. And so that allowed me to sort of go back and think, okay, so what are some statues that I passed up because there were just too many statues coming out at once and I didn't have enough funds to get everything I wanted. And of course, Sunfire here was on the top of my list. I mean, I love the statue. I love the mutant Sunfire, but there's so many statues that I wanted to get that I've been getting throughout the various years, and so he isn't exactly a priority for me. Wasn't exactly a priority for me, but that now that I have him, I am super happy to have him. Like, you can see how incredible this statue is. Like, it's just gorgeous. Like, from the base to the top, every single aspect of it just amazing, beautiful. I mean, just like the sort of the fire plasma trail that he leaves behind. It's so incredibly well done, and has such an incredible presence. Like, it's translucent. It's got a lot of flames carved into it, so it's really dynamic. It really implies like a lot of movement, a lot of life in this in this trail that he leaves behind that sort of helps him to fly. It's a perfect rendering of Sunfire using his power. It's exactly what you want from a statue of a mutant, of a comic book character. You want the power, the sort of the quality that sets this character apart from just average, normal, day-to-day people, to be sort of accentuated as much as possible to really bring out the larger-than-life quality of the statue. And in this case, like, they really hit that mark out of the park. Just out of the hemisphere, out of the galaxy, just way beyond what anybody would have normally expected from conceptually what a statue like this could be. So, I mean, just kudos to Bowen Designs for their amazing work and dedication to bring this character to life in such a in such a dynamic and perfect way. I was floored. I was floored when I opened the statue. I'm still floored now, even though I'm sitting on on a chair, fortunately, so I'm not necessarily completely floored. My feet are on the floor, so that does qualify as floored. For those that have problems with my vernacular. Anyway, so let me check out some details here. So there were how many of these were there? Looks like there are 520. This is number 425. This was released in 2012, and it was sculpted by Khurram Alavi. That might mean that it was sculpted digitally, but it also might not mean that. I forget exactly if he sculpts things digitally, but let me see. Actually, I think it might say here. Oh yes, digitally sculpted by Khurram Alavi. So this is a digital sculpture. So I mean, just the amazing work that was done in the flames. That was done on a computer, which is pretty impressive if you think about it. But it also does sort of explain a lot, because it's really easy on a computer to just go crazy, like, because you could change things really easily, whereas with traditional sculpting, you kind of conceive of something, you execute it, and if it's not quite working, it's really hard to kind of put a lot of work aside and kind of start over, or like change a lot of the qualities that were part of the initial conception. Like, so digital sculpting really does allow for sort of like these really big, well detailed features of a statue to be created in a way that's probably a lot more sort of efficient as far as like the work that goes into it, allowing for a lot of experimentation, allowing for something simple to become something really impressive like it has here. I'm not saying that can happen with traditional sculpting, and I'm sure it has on several occasions and will again in the future. But in this case, like, I think this clearly demonstrates the value of digital sculpting. I mean, look at this thing. It's gorgeous. It's freaking gorgeous. But the probably the best part of this statue is that the amazing quality of it does not stop there. It does not stop with the plasma sort of trail that he leaves behind, the amazing translucent plasma trail base. It continues onto the statue. The statue is beautiful. So this is the design of Sunfire as he was first drawn when he was first introduced in Giant Size X-Men #1, alongside Storm, Nightcrawler, Colossus. Obviously, Giant Size X-Men #1 was one of the huge sort of milestone issues of the X-Men, changed the entire sort of X-Men canon, and so any character that came from that is hugely significant. But Sunfire seems to be sort of like at the bottom rung of that sort of impressive ladder, because he kind of dropped out of sight from the team immediately after that period. And in fact, when I started reading comics in the 90s, I didn't even know about Sunfire. This was, of course, before I discovered Giant Size X-Men and sort of was able to go back and read a lot of the books and stories that laid the foundation for the stories that I was introduced to. And so when I was first introduced to Sunfire, he was actually in the Age of Apocalypse storyline. This is a storyline where Legion, Xavier's son, goes back in time, and that leads to Xavier dying, which then in the present leads to a different reality in which Apocalypse has taken over as sort of the reigning ruler of, at least I think it's North America, and in which mutants are the dominant species and humans are being systematically exterminated. And in that world, one of the X-Men is Sunfire, and Sunfire looks freaking awesome in that storyline. I love the design of Sunfire in that storyline. He's got like the white mask with the red dot sort of representing the Japanese flag. He is Japanese, so that's like a very cool sort of element. And he's got sort of like it's kind of like a sort of like an S&M like sort of theme to his costume. A lot of flames everywhere, but just like a lot of sort of leather straps all over the place too. Like, I don't know, it was like a really interesting design, looked really cool. I thought the character really stood out as one of like the more interestingly designed characters of that storyline. And so he played a big part in sort of my infatuation for that storyline. And so from there I started, getting to know Sunfire, loving the character, going back, understanding his roots. So I've been a fan of Sunfire's, but I just never really a fan of Sunfire in this form. Fast forward to last year when Uncanny Avengers came out, Sunfire all of a sudden is in his old costume again. So all of a sudden this costume is relevant again. And so it sort of gave me a little bit more impetus to get the character, because like once again he was more current and significant in the stories I was reading, and the costume he was wearing is his classic costume. So that sort of got me thinking more about like getting the statue and making it a part of my permanent collection. But I think I always knew I would, because I'd seen photos of it online. I'd seen it in other people's collections that had bought it, and like, I mean, one can't help but just be impressed by it. I mean, it's just a gorgeous piece. The costume is beautiful. I love the design of the costume. It's like a very interesting, unique design to the costume. I love that pretty much every color used was painted in metallic colors, metallic paint. So the red is obviously ubiquitous on the statue, and it's just beautiful. It just the light sort of hits it really nicely and reflects off of it very nicely, and it gives it like a really, really standout sort of eye-catching quality that makes the statue ultimately have the value that one wants it to have, like what as a something relatively expensive, also a statue that represents a character in at least my favorite stories, the X-Men stories. So just everything about it is beautiful in that regard. Like the gold trim throughout the belt and around the arms, like really just again accentuates like it's larger than life quality, its aesthetic value, its sort of significance as this X-Men character that just has a really great design and is just really great to look at. I think I love the mask probably the most. Like, it's really cool. Like, the mask has like some gold trim stuff in the back of the head as well. The design of the mask is really interesting. It's kind of got like a fish quality, sort of related to some sort of fish species, but not really, because that doesn't really make sense for the character. But it's got that look. The design of it is sort of like aquatic in nature. And it's got the big black eyes, which have like a glossy black paint to them, which are really cool, which look really nice. And the white stripes that go all around the body are just sort of like a matte white that again, like when you're using metallics, like it's really nice to kind of have something to contrast that, and they do that. They do that. They help not only to sort of accentuate these lines as part of the costume, but also emphasize how like really cool the overall metallic paint job is, just by contrast. So a lot of really nice choices were made on the colors, on the type of paints that were used, and just overall it again just does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is just represent this beautiful this character in its most beautiful form possible, working within the framework of a 12-inch I guess is for the character, 12-inch minimum, sort of 1/6 scale is what I meant to say, 1/6 scale, sort of like it's sort of like the category, that's what they were going for. They were going for this 1/6 scale statue, and that's what they did. But they just they did so much more with it than one would have expected, and so it just really brings this statue to like a whole new level as far as like how cool it is and how much I love it and how much you all probably love it if you're fans of the character, if you're fans of the X-Men, or if you're just fans of Bowen statues or just really cool looking statues. Like I can see why. I can see there's just too much to it that kind of makes it impossible to dislike. But I mean, I'm sure people will have differing opinions, and everybody has a right to, and chime in, and everybody can have a little discussion about it in the comment section if you're interested. But ultimately, I think this is a big winner. This is a huge winner, and I put it in my 70s display. I posted a pic recently of the entire team together, and it took a little bit for me to sort of reorganize it because it's got a lot of presence, this statue. Like there's like a lot of mass to it, so it takes up a lot of room, but positioned just right, it fits in so well with the rest of like the 70s team. I have them with Banshee, Nightcrawler, Phoenix, Colossus, Storm, and Cyclops, and I have him in the back sort of elevated, flying above Cyclops, and he just looks fantastic. And the plasma base, I have it sort of behind Colossus, and it just makes like a really nice backdrop for Colossus as well. Like every aspect of the statue like helps to enhance like a display of an entire team, because there's so much to it, and there's so many like interesting colors and like dynamic elements that just kind of like come out, like sort of like overflow from the statue to the space of other statues, which just kind of again helps to bring the whole display together and just elevate the entire team display to a level that it otherwise would not have been. As you can see, I'm a little bit excited because I mean it's a super awesome statue. I'm just so happy to have gotten it, and I'm so happy to have shared it with you here now. And I hope you have enjoyed this little excitement tantrum, as it were. And that's gonna be it for it, though. And thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel. It is Dr. Remy LeBeau's X-Lair. If you haven't already subscribed, please do, or not. It's up to you. But if you want to keep up with the various videos that I am going to be uploading, might be a good idea to subscribe. Again, no pressure. I also have a blog. It's called X-Men Statues of Future Past.blogspot.com, and I post photos of the various statues that I shoot videos of to sort of emphasize like the smaller aspects of the statue. I don't like to do a lot of camera movements in my videos because I'm a stickler for a good shooting, and when there's just a lot of random camera shots, it's just, for me, it doesn't really do what I wanted to do, so I'd rather just stay away from the breaking up of a video into various shots, because that would just take too much time, and I actually have actual work to do beyond this hobby. But, maybe in a few years I'll be able to have some extra time to give you guys what you want, which is sort of like more polished, more, definitely some editing on the videos, just to give like closer looks at some of the stuff that I have and I'm sharing with you. But no promises on that. So that pretty much does it. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you all very soon, of course. And as always, it's important for you to put an X in the box, because ain't nobody checking me. That's right. Take care. Bye-bye.